We've loved this show as much as you have over the last decade, and it's easy to see why, since their stories are so interesting and their characters are so likable. Jay Halstead's broken our hearts many times over the years, and now that he's leaving, we can be sure Season 10's gonna add more gut punches to that list. In this video, we'll talk about some of the saddest Halstead moments from the show. First off, when the Halstead siblings lost their dad. One of the hardest things anyone can go through is losing a parent. When someone close to you dies, the pain can be so strong that you feel lost, confused, empty, hurt, and everything in between. It's hard to understand how it feels unless you've been there. The Halstead brothers got a terrible blow at the end of the second part of the crossover in 2018. When Jay and Will's father was caught in the high-rise fire, he died. It was probably the most heartbreaking part of the episode when Jay tried to deal with the news. He acts out because he doesn't want to admit that their last conversation was an argument, and the brothers can't agree what to do next. In the last heartbreaking scene between them, they agreed to let him go, and Jay's face shows how much he hurt. Up next, when Jay realized how his dad felt. Jay had a hard time getting along with his father. Most of the time, when they were on screen together, they didn't agree with each other. But even though they didn't get along very well, they still cared about each other. When Pat Halstead died in season 6, the truth about how much they did came out. When a high-rise fire breaks out in Pat's building, he gets very sick from breathing in the smoke. This is on top of his problems getting better from open heart surgery. Jay thought his father had never agreed with his choice to join the CPD, but in a cruel turn of events, while he and Will are going through their father's things, he finds some pictures of his graduation from the academy. When the old Halstead brother found out that his dad stood by him, it was too much for him and he broke down in tears. Followed by the second time he was kidnapped and almost died. When a beloved character from a long-running series dies, it's sad. Even more so if that character has been there since the beginning and helped build the world. The mid-season finale of season 7 made us feel a lot of emotions and gave us a lot of anxiety. In the episode, Jay was knocked out and taken away after he tried to help someone after a case went very wrong. He was tortured and beaten by his captors, and then the person he was trying to help shot him in the chest. We had to wait almost 2 months to find out if he would live or die because the episode ended with him struggling to breathe. Jay would survive the ordeal, but he was hurt and had a bullet hole in him. This didn't make seeing him on the edge of death any easier. Moving on to when he accidentally shot a child. After a shootout with a suspect, a little girl gets caught in the middle of the gunfire and is killed by accident. The bullet was thought to have come from the suspect's gun, but a ballistic report showed that it had come from Jay's. This makes him extremely sad, and when Burgess tells him later that the little girl died because she lost too much blood from her injuries, he's even more upset. Jay goes straight to Med to see Will, who's taking care of her. Jay's so upset that he pushes his brother away when he tries to comfort him. From the heartbreaking shot of Halstead in his car debating whether or not to talk to the parents, to the last scene where he apologized and gave her the necklace back, this episode hit hard. Next, when nightmares haunted him. Many people with PTSD know that having nightmares, flashbacks, and panic attacks can be hard on the mind and body. The writers only gave us tiny bits of information about Jay's time in the military over the last 10 years. But the 7th episode of season 5 went a little deeper into the storyline we've been waiting for since we first heard about it. The first part of Care Under Fire showed a side of Jay that we don't usually see. When Russick gets to the precinct early, he finds the ex-ranger sleeping on the couch. He's moving, crying, and whimpering as if he's having a bad dream. When Russick wakes him up, he jumps in a fear. Seeing a character who usually has it all together so scared and helpless was heartbreaking. Jesse's performance as a person struggling with PTSD for the whole episode was brilliantly heartbreaking. Not to mention how Terry's death broke Jay's heart. Terry Egan worked as a security guard for a business that was allowed to grow marijuana. He first showed up in the 15th episode of season 3 and was last seen in the 17th episode, 40 Caliber Breadcrumb. He and Jay quickly became close friends because they both had been in the military. Sad to say, when the two were taking more than $260,000 to the bank, they were the target of a robbery that went very wrong very quickly. Jay and Terry are under heavy fire, and it was heartbreaking to see Terry get shot in the neck while Jay pleaded with him to stay with him. When Alinsky tells him later that Terry died from his injuries because of a lot of bleeding, Jay immediately blames himself and gets angry. Before the episode ends, Voight tells Jay that he's lucky to have him in his unit. Jay couldn't hold it any longer, so he left, went to the bathroom, and broke down. He was right there with us. Let's learn more about when Maddie took a bullet instead of him. We quickly learned that Chicago PD wasn't afraid to show us hard-hitting emotional trauma, and the third episode of season 2, The Way Station, was no different. In the last episode, when Jay shoots the brother of a drug lord, he puts a $100,000 price on the detective's head. Jay's safe, but some of the people around him aren't as lucky. At the end of Get My Cigarettes, Jay's trying to relax in a bar when someone starts shooting at him. In the chaos, his friend Maddie's shot in the neck, but he's not hurt. At the end of this episode, Jay tells Brett that he's seen people get shot before, but he's never seen someone get hit by a bullet that was meant for him. Coming up, the very first kidnapping. The third season began with a bang. Jay was trying to catch Chicago's most wanted criminal, but when the man found the police wire on his chest, he took Jay hostage. After he's taken, the team gets a video of him being beaten, bloodied, and hung by his wrists, and tasered over and over again. After Olinsky told her what had happened, Lindsay came back to help and offered to trade every intelligence CI file for Jay's file. Jay was brought out during the exchange as proof that he was still alive. He was bleeding, burned, and looked like hell. It was hard to see him in so much pain. Even though he was okay in the end, it was still hard to see him being tortured the way he was. Next, Halstead undercover. In episode 7, season 5, we learn more about Jay's time in the military. When Jay volunteers to go undercover to find out more about a man who's supposed to be behind a string of kidnappings and ransom, they become friends because they both went through hard times in the Rangers. At the end of the episode, Jay tries to save the victim by convincing Lewis that neither of them can handle the weight of another kid's death. There's a shootout between the ex-Rangers, the people who took Lewis, and the rest of intelligence. Jay can only watch as Lewis gets shot in the head. Jay goes into a PTSD state and starts CPR. When Haley tries to talk to him, he turns the gun on her because he doesn't know where he is. Later, Jay goes to Lewis's sister's house and he tries not to cry. He hugs her and his face is covered with guilt and sadness. Finally, when he was shot, the Halstead family struggled with the One Chicago crossover in 2018. In such a short amount of time, Jay and Will's problems with their father, a deadly high-rise fire, an act of arson, and the shooting of one of our own have all happened. When Jay finds out that the fire that killed his and Will's father was started on purpose, he sets out on a revenge mission to find the person who did it. When Jay finds him, he chases him into a tunnel where they shoot at each other. Jay shoots the suspect, but not before he was shot twice. This one was hard to watch because Upton and Russick found him bleeding on the ground, and he could have died in such a sad way. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. Which of these moments was the saddest for you? Are you counting on seeing Halstead alive and kicking in the next season? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.